Hello and welcome to Diplomatic Perspective on Global Television. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Just a story before we get into the discussion on Diplomatic Perspective today. Nigerian president was French investment on state visit. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said Nigeria is open for business as he embarked on a state visit to France, with Paris looking to boost their ties in English-speaking African countries, following a series of setbacks with former allies on the continent. The 72-year-old president met with his French counterpart, Emmanuel Macron, during the first official state visit by a Nigerian leader in more than 2 decades. Macron, 46, who has sought a renewal between Paris and Africa since his 2017 election, said his country will continue to invest in Nigeria at a time when French is looking for more influence on the continent in warning following military coup and changing of attitude. Let's go on a quick break. After this break, we'll return and we'll look at the role of every nation's economy in international relations. We want to look at something very important today, and that is the economy of a nation. How important is it? What role does it play in international relations? No wonder a lot of nations seems to go into relationship with countries that have an economy that is boosting. As a matter of fact, today I have a doctor, Dr. Aliu Ilyasu. He will be talking to us today. He's an international economist. He's an expert, and he's joining me on the program. It's good to have you on the program today.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. As a matter of fact, we're looking at the role of the economy in international relations. Does it play any role at all?
Right. I think virtually everything it's around the economy. That's what we call economic diplomacy. It's very, very vital for every country to consider that, because that's what will be based, your relationship will be based on. So, and it has a lot of benefits, as it were. It has positive advantage. Sometimes it also comes with some negative advantage. For instance, naturally, you want to deal with countries that you can actually have a relationship with, not only in terms of government, even in terms of businesses. That's why we have chambers of commerce. We have Nigeria, America, chambers of commerce. Nigeria, Ghana, chambers of commerce. We have, even the international chambers of commerce. All these come together to form why I should relate with you, why you should relate with me. Sometimes it also form the part of a balance of trade and balance of payment. Now, for this year, our largest trading partner is China. So what are we giving China? What is China giving us? Who is much more balanced? Why is China actually decide to trade with us? It's because we actually have what the China actually need. But we must also take advantage of that and also say, okay, when the container come here, don't let the container go empty in the local palace. You pack something inside to take it to them. So that's basic thing why we must always have that economic diplomacy.
All right, that's the most reason why we should have economic diplomacy. Then let's look at it from this perspective of some nations who are not economically buoyant. Does it mean they won't have any other country to relate with?
Well, generally every country have one thing or the other, and that's why it's always good, especially Africa. You hardly find Africa country that does not have natural resources. But compared to people like other people in like UK may not have natural resources, but they have service. Service is key. If you go to UK now, there's over 8,000 university, and the population is around maybe 50 to 60 million. Why in Nigeria here we are about 230 million? I'm not sure if you combine all our institutions together, the polytechnic, the university, the colleges of education, the technical, what have you, they are not up to 1,000. Do you see? And that's why you see that Nigerian troop down to to UK. Though UK also build ships and other business, but that's just why you must be strategic. You must have a comparative advantage to be recognized. So in our case, in Nigeria now, oil is our strength. And that's why you see America is dealing with us, China is dealing with us, India is dealing with us. It's because of that natural resources. But other people are very smart enough that they have created another area. You know, in Nigeria today, if I don't know how your disposition, virtually everybody watch, not maybe 90% of people watch Z World. That's Indian moving into your country to get advantage of your country. So you must be strategic to actually get those things. But by and large, it brings opportunity and it brings disadvantage. And that's why when you see some economy, when they go into recession, you see that the impact of recession will appear in another place also. They also have that recession. Now that's why the last recession America has, Nigeria also have a recession. So it's because of the relationship in our businesses. So America may have recession, Russia will not have, because they are not dependent on each other. And that's why you must be strategic in what you're actually trading with people.
Okay, you need to be strategic in whatever you are trading with people. Let's take, for instance, the president of Nigeria traveling to France, for instance. That visit, can we say in a way there could be a connection to economy? Because in some of the papers we heard that France has been given easy access in and out as it has to do with maybe their companies and all of that. How can you rate that level of relationship? How can we really rate it?
Right, you recall that even before President Tinubu traveled to France, the president of India came to Nigeria. Does it only come to see the beauties in Nigeria? No, it has economic impact. 2021, 2022, our trade with India is about $14 billion. But 2003, 2004, it has reduced to $7 billion. And that's why you see the man have to come there to negotiate and decide why, what is happening, supply us more like you used to supply us. You know, these are why president travels. If any president is traveling and is just traveling for traveling's sake without economic reasons, I don't think it's enough for president to travel. And if you recall, when President Tinubu got to France, he read out what he actually says, and he talks about out of school children, that if they can eat egg, they can do this. So he's actually canvassing France and guiding them towards the area of investment. Actually, want them to come. He has traveled to other countries also to canvass for it. But the question is, that does it translate to them bringing investment? That's another discussion. Does our environment give room for people to come and invest in the face of insecurity, in the face of unstable economy, in the face of continuous inflation, in the case of the challenges of loan facilities? That's the problem. But for him to travel, he traveled with the aim of economic diplomacy. Come and invest in our country. And it's go beyond government to government. It also go into foreign direct investment from private sector. And that's why when you see them be travel, they go with their ministers. So when Tinubu is traveling, he doesn't go alone. He may go with 3 ministers: the Minister of Finance, Minister of Mine, Minister of Steel, Minister of Trade and Investment, simply because they want them. As president is discussing with the president, they're also negotiating and canvassing for businesses. So there is always that major reasons why they're actually traveling. Then you may also want to look at the economic bloc globally. We have UN, and beyond UN, we also have BRICS. BRICS is an economic diplomacy whereby about 5 countries. Nigeria is now saying we are partner. We are not member yet, right? But those that are member of the BRICS, they have reasons for being there because of the economic diplomacy. So they have access to fund, they have access to import and export from such country, and that's where Nigeria must start to look at. We must be biased that, okay, it is you that trade with me that I want to do business with. It is not because you are there that I want to deal with. So we must also look at our comparative advantage, and that also brought us to the issue of African free continental trade area. That's also economic diplomacy, whereby the West, the Africa come together. There could be import and export. There will be visa free. You know, we can bring the product of Ghana to Nigeria. We can take the Nigerian product to Cote d'Ivoire. Even though some of us think it's not good enough for you to open your border and sell everything should come. We should select product like textile. Textile should not come to Nigeria. Should not come to Nigeria because we have people in Aba, we have people that can, you know, we should help them so that infant industry in the face of economic diplomacy will not also die. So it's good you have a good background and planning in terms of economic policy on who to bring, who to trade with and who not to trade with.
All right, while you were talking about BRICS, it crossed my mind that Nigeria attracts some 1.27 billion capital from BRICS. You know, the vice president, his own journey too. And I was looking at that. Do you think that is a welcome development?
Well, it's a very welcome development because, you know, for me, I don't like a unipolar. I like a bipolar, whereby you will not say you only trade with a particular set of people. You make it open so that you can trade from here to there and take advantage of the market. So I think we must start to rethink our economic diplomacy and our international relation, as it were. So now, if we can attract such from BRICS, so imagine if you are a member of BRICS, it brings a lot of advantage to it. But you know, because of our ally, like America, we may want to be, you know, very diplomatic, saying, okay, we will not join you fully, because once we join them, America may not be comfortable. Because BRICS have South Africa, it has Russia, it has China, it has India. You can see that the world is they are trying to get stronger, and they are attracting people like Dubai, Arab Emirates, and other Kenya. They are joining gradually. So if you started doing that, it shows that yes, you are now open for more businesses from different people. So for me, it's good we attract, but I think we should join in the long run.
Okay, I think we should join in the long run. That is Nigeria belonging to the bloc. All right, as a matter of fact, we're talking about the role of the economy of a nation in international relations. And of course, we know that every country is interested in diplomatic ties, but then the benefit you can take away, even though it's not direct. Now, let's look at it from this perspective, where a country, okay, is getting more, all right, from a particular country, and the other country is somehow disadvantaged because if a country is getting something from you and you're not getting anything in return, how does that balance? Because some persons, maybe directly or indirectly, they may not want to say, but then from the background, you know that, this country is taking advantage of this country. Like we heard, okay, Niger, for instance, is pulling out of everything that has to do with France, whatever, and now Nigeria is rubbing shoulders with France and all of that. Do you think that can play out in any of this relationship that we're talking about?
I think it will continue to be like that. One country will take advantage of the other. And why would that happen? Is because of their own economic status. Okay, for Nigeria now, do you want to say you want to have a trade balance with America? Or China? Because they are industrialized. So they have what you need. You don't have what they need. That's another thing. So they have what you need in terms of services, products, you know, but you have only natural resources that they can tap from. And that's the only thing you can. Perhaps, if not now, that we are now refining, that we are tapping the value chain of oil industry. Before, we take it out to refine, and we still import it to use. But now, as it were, so I must tell you that two things will actually work: your population, your economic, your GDP. You know, it's very, very key. I'm not sure the whole African GDP is up to California. That's the question. So when we say the whole African GDP is not up to a particular state in America, so how do you want to have a balance of trade or balance of payment? So it depends on what you are bringing to the table. And the question is, what are you bringing to the table. And that's a clarion call for Nigerians that we must start tapping our value chain. You know, there was a course I was discussing in class, and I was telling the student that, okay, somebody is exporting raw material, raw yam, and somebody is bringing Apple computer, and you want them to sit at the same table to discuss. There's no basis for that discussion because somebody is very, very far. You are just, in fact, you are not even adding value. You want to export raw yam. Our cocoa that we have for as long as 120 years, up to now, we still cannot convert it to something value. You recall that it's still global companies, international companies, or multinational companies that are from America, from China, that are also turning it to what we need, beverages, and we are buying it. And you want to be at the same table. So one country that is industrialized would definitely take advantage of the other one that is not industrialized. So the quest is that when you are a developing country, you must find a way to move, just like Brazil. You know, let's just go back to history. Before we get independence, there were 3 or 4 countries that were together at the same level. You can look at Brazil, we can look at Argentina, we can look at Malaysia. Now, where are they? Singapore, where are they now today? Brazil is now producing their own vehicle, not assembling of vehicle. Brazil have moved. Indian have also moved to production of vehicle. When you talk about health, you think about Indian. When you talk about IT, you think about Indian. When you think about, what do you think about Nigeria? Is there anything? I think oil and gas. We are still not left behind. But we must find a way to look at that. And the basic thing we must start doing is to add value chain. A good example is the issue of oil and gas. We are on CNG now. I can tell you, most places I go today, I still see an Indian man handling our CNG. So what is happening? So even India is even exporting people. They're saying, according to the what's the name of that Indian president, Shri, when he came, he said that India has over 200 companies in Nigeria.
Just Nigeria alone.
Can we boast with a lot of people? You know, and you know India, and they will come and repatriate at point in time. Can we boast of having 5 companies in India? Let's go back to South Africa. South Africa have multinational companies in Nigeria, and they are doing well. Can we boast of 2 companies?
But one problem is that some Nigerians even have these companies, you know, but they hide it. We've had cases like
the real estate case. Right, it's not possible. When they declare they are the owner, a lot of things negative will happen to them. So they have to hide under a citizen of South Africa. But in Nigeria, South Africa are very, very buoyant to say, yes, we own A, we own B, we own C, we own D, and a lot of the over 10 companies. But it's their own diplomatic law. If you go to Ghana today, as a Nigerian, you cannot rent a shop. The owner will rent it to somebody in Ghana, the person will now give you again. So if you go to South Africa, you cannot come out brilliantly and say, this is my business. And why is the problem? It's diplomatic. Nigeria have to stood its ground that no, in as much as you survive here, our people must also survive
too.
I can tell you of a particular media who is thriving now in London. The person actually wants to open the media in South Africa. But by the time they do 3 months, the labor law alone, the hammer on the person, he has to move it to UK. So imagine if your company as a Nigerian cannot survive in South Africa but survive in UK. That means there's a diplomatic gap which our president or our handlers must look into it.
All right, yes, talking about this gap now, that's one of the things that cause a lot of problem. And when personal interest is coming in to the detriment of a nation, you know, some persons, especially people who front these assignments, seems to boycott some things because they just wanted to favor them. Take, for instance, an individual going to own a company, all right, outside Nigeria, maybe a Nigerian, for instance, and they try to hide it. They try to hide the identity. They don't want people to know that they own such projects or maybe such facilities. What could be responsible for that? Because if, as a matter of fact, maybe what Nigeria is supposed to benefit from it, they may not benefit from it.
Well, I think it's a two-way thing. One, people that are corrupt, that stole money, when they want to invest outside Nigeria, they wouldn't want to put their name, because they know once they put the name, there will be question: how did you come about this level of money to invest here? That's one. Then number two, depends on diplomatic power too. You recall that there's a cold competition between South Africa and Nigeria. Cold competition. In fact, you could see it from Chidima, who contested. They said she's not a South African. Meanwhile, her mother is South Africa. They said she has to come to Nigeria to contest again before she now go to Miss Universe and became first runner-up. Now, virtually, if you go to, and I must tell you this, even beyond Nigeria, South Africa have that negative attitude toward all Africans. If you go there now, they are always hostile.
And South Africa is an African country.
An Africa that we even supported.
That we even supported. You know
Our
what
father
happened?
trade off a lot of things to support them in the apartheid era. But I think history is not doing its justice. There's need for the country on Africa to start telling them how we fought for them to get that independence. So there's that competition that is actually there. So, but until they just stood its ground that if you can survive here, we should be able to also survive there. And if you ask me, I'll tell Mr. President that all South African companies, we should have a substitute. There should be, if I cannot use a particular, though there is competition in terms of telecos, there's competition in that area, but other ones will also have competition, and we should also be able to, operate there. Our own telecos, are they operating in South Africa? No. So we must start balancing it. So that is called what? Economic diplomacy. You must do what will benefit your country too. But by and large, we must make sure we have a robust economy. We cannot say we are giant of Africa and we are struggling to have a good economy. We must justify it with good economy.
Yeah, well, when you were talking about telecos, I was even thinking, because some persons have cried out before that what we have, like the service providers exploit Nigerians than they do in South Africa, and the authorities are quiet about it.
And that's why I talk about economic diplomacy. When you stood your ground, I know you must do pay as you go in Nigeria as well, because sometimes I will look at my network, I have about 300 and I only do only 3 or 5, and I have to pay for everything. But meanwhile in their company, and that's why I said, okay, let me give you a good example. There's a particular telecos who first arrived or arrived second, who said no, there is no per second. But when we have indigenous one that said, okay, you can do per second. It brings that competition. Before you know, the first one also come down and say, yes, you can do per second. And there must be enabling environment for that competition. And it's not by individual, it should be by government. So government should lead in making sure that Nigeria is comfortable for us. And when you go to any other African country, we should not be giants only by mouth, we should be giants by action and by economy. And by nature, Nigeria are enterprising if we have that enabling environment.
Nigeria are enterprising if we have that enabling environment. We're talking about diplomatic ties, diplomatic perspective to an issue right now, and that is the role of a nation's economy in international relations, because something must lead to the other before relationship is being established. It's either is symbiotic, or maybe someone is just getting and the other person is trying to get along, like my guests have said so far. We're rounding up now, but
Right.
then, as it is right now, let's talk about Nigeria as a nation. The present economy of the nation is something that is worrisome, as it's were. And the president have said he's doing everything possible. Do you think an economy such as this can attract any country, or probably foster any form of relationship?
Pretty difficult. I can't say we can attract, because the only thing we should be taking advantage is foreign direct investment. And when you want to come to bring business to Nigeria, in fact, if you look at the last NBS report, it says that we are making more GDP, but it's through service sector. That's a negative one. That simply means we're having portfolio investment. People come to invest in our stock exchange and they're doing business in that area. We should be having people investing in our industrial sector, in the agricultural sector. That should take the lead. And because we don't have foreign direct investment in terms of beyond capital investment, beyond maybe portfolio investment, that's the problem. So we must make sure that people come to have their own industry here. Recall, a lot of companies have left Nigeria, but with the present state of the economy, I doubt if companies will come, because we have a volatility in terms of the status of the economy. Inflation is very, very high. NPR is very, very high. The volatility of insecurity is also there. So if you look at all these indices, they are not actually interested. And that's why we said our problem is structural problem. We must solve our problem in-house to make sure that we can attract more business. We are doing well in some area, like exporting our own entertainment. If you go to any place in Africa, they watch our films. Our film becomes much more important. Our music is being exported globally. We are #1 chart, but we should also do more in that creative economy. How much is government actually getting from streaming? That's another question. So our government must wake up to create enabling environment for foreign direct investment and for Nigeria to invest in Nigeria.
All right, Nigeria needs to do more so that at least we can have something on the table. Nigerians are going through so much right now, and if there is anything they are looking forward to, is how they can be a good international relation that will help in a way cushion the effect of the policy, some of the policies, and even try to bring succor to the hunger that is in Nigeria at this very point. But then I think it's part of the reason why the president has been traveling, even the vice presidents too have actually been traveling. And one thing the president has not stopped doing is wooing investors wherever he goes. All right, thank you very much, Dr. Leo Ilyasu, for coming around for Diplomatic Perspective today.
Thank you for having me.
And this is going to be the size of Diplomatic Perspective today. We've successfully looked at the role of the economy of every nation as it has to do with international relations. Every country interested in your country. What is the motive? What are you benefiting from the countries that are coming into your country and the countries that you are going to? I think this has gone far beyond just visitations and attending of meetings. But then Nigerians are still waiting for when international relations will actually bring something to the table that is evident. And it is possible. Like my guests have said, we have everything, all that it takes. We've done so much, but then so many more still needs to be done to get on the global map and become a country of attraction to other countries. Thanks for keeping a date with us on Diplomatic Perspective today. We'll come on your way again for the next edition. My name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Bye-bye for now.